from Gametime, Connecticut in to talk a little high school football. It's always good to see. It's a little weird without Mark here, but he better be careful. Anyway, I got to be honest. So after this past weekend's games, I didn't even look at the new poll, which came out Monday night late. I haven't even seen it. I'm guessing I know about what happened. So before we do anything, let's look at the bottom five. You guys have the graphic here for the bottom five. We can look at, Sean, and you can kind of take me through it a little bit.
All right. Well, Greenwich dropped from 9 to 10. They were off this week. No big deal. Middletown needed a little bit of a push right before halftime to get past Bristol Central. Massac creamed Notre Dame Fairfield, so they stay where they are. St. Joseph had the week off. They played last Monday against Wilton, as we discussed. Windsor and Platt were engaged in a little dogfight there, but Windsor pulled away in they scored their first touchdown in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, and then they pulled away with 2 more touchdowns. Defense played outstanding in that game. So that's number 6. They didn't move.
Platt was undefeated coming into that game.
No. Platt had been defeated by Weathersfield.
Right.
They got upset by Weathersfield the week before. So that was kind of an interesting game. Could they bounce back? And the answer was no.
But close.
Yeah, I mean, they gave it a shot. I mean, Windsor's really a young team, and I don't know how they keep doing it, but they're churning out the wins. They're still undefeated, so good for Fleet and the gang.
So the big game, or one of the big games, listen, they're all big. Whatever town you're in, it's a big game.
Yeah.
But that Staples-Ridgefield game on Friday night,
I saw.
what a game, because Ridgefield comes out and scores the first 17 points of the game, and then Staples comes back and scores the next 20, and then in the end, Ridgefield ends up winning it. So we'll have these highlights on in the background to talk about it. But this is an interesting game, right? Because Staples had been undefeated, and Ridgefield's only loss had been to Darien.
Right. That was a big win for Ridgefield. Staples' first test of the season. You know what? It was a heavyweight match there. I saw the highlights you guys had on CT Sports Now, and I was enthralled. It was a really, really well done, well-cut game. I got a sense of exactly what happened. It was just haymakers are flying. Each team had its own flurry, and then, Ridgefield comes back, and they needed that late drive to win it, and that's what they were looking for. Otherwise, that would have been a devastating loss for them. Staples still a little bit of wiggle room, but they have some big games coming up, so that's going to be tough for Staples. They need to kind of look and see where they stand. They know they can play with these teams, but they lose to Ridgefield again. They haven't. Ridgefield just has their number recently. Maybe Staples can turn around in the second half of the season.
So what this game tells me, because Ridgefield comes out with the win in Westport.
Yeah.
Ridgefield's only loss was to Darien. This tells me that Darien is every bit as good as we thought,
Darien's
right?
They're consensus number 1 for some. There's a reason for it.
I mean, because what they did to Ridgefield early on in the season, and then they go and they've been beating everybody up since then. And Ridgefield turns around and beats Staples and everyone else that Ridgefield has played. But that was a big win for Ridgefield, and I think it just further substantiates Darien.
Right, pretty much. I mean, as far as Ridgefield is concerned, they really needed to get back on the horse, so to speak. And that was a devastating week 1 loss, and we hadn't really heard from them since. They really hadn't played anybody. This was their first big game since then, and they needed to show off. They were ranked at the beginning of the season. Everyone kind of forgot about them.
Right.
But Greg Gatto and the guys, they did a nice job coming back against which looks like a pretty good Staples team.
The Staples team is good, yeah.
The top 5 in the FCAC or so
Very good.
Excellent. And
Very good.
I vote all of them in my top 15 for the top 10 poll. So, that was a really big win for Ridgefield. I might have knocked Staples out. Sorry, Mars. But they have a chance.
I'm sorry, Mars, too. I think I did as well.
They got a chance. They have a chance to get it back this week. Well, they play Darien. So,
that's right.
At their place, I believe it. Yeah, it's at Westport. So if they can kind of put that effort against Darien, maybe they can pull off, which would be a big upset, and then everything goes into chaos.
So before we get into looking at the top 5 in the poll, let's talk about another big game in the SEC, and that was how is Cheshire going to respond?
Right.
And Cheshire against West Haven. Some people say that this game will go a long way in determining that top team in the SEC, and West Haven seems to have a stranglehold on that.
Yeah,
at this point.
it looked like it was just pretty much they all defense, especially early. They got denied I think that was the end. Denied. I think is it at the end of the first half they get denied at the goal line. They had already been up 7-0. But then, then there's Kyle Godfrey doing his thing. He had 2 interceptions. He ran for like 160-something yards. Kid's great. You got Chris Chance doing his thing. You have Jay Conlon, the quarterback, doing his thing. And it was for Charlton and the defense, and Godfrey with 2 picks. They had 3 overall, I believe. Really rough night for Cheshire. And they got to be doing a little bit of soul searching down there to see what kind of happened. Maybe they weren't as good as everyone thought they were, including me at the beginning of the season. They win those 2 big games. They beat they beat Shelton at home. That was a big one. They go out to NFA. They beat them, but it's been a strange season since then. And now Cheshire shut out at home. Really nothing going. Raba's still out for an undetermined amount of time. They got some issues to work out, Cheshire. But West Haven clearly looking like the best team in the SEC, undefeated. They played some big heavyweights. They have Shelton in 2 weeks.
So let's talk about Shelton. Shelton with the big game against North Haven, as we just see these big time SEC powers just week after week they have each other.
Well, this was a key moment in the game. They were kind of going back and forth. They go with the onside kick by Andrade. And that really just basically turned the whole game around. They go down and score on this beautiful flea flicker pass right back to Roberts, and that really put them up 2 scores, and really kind of put North Haven, which is not a team that can come back and needs to start throwing the ball.
Right.
It kind of put them in a bit of a hole, and as Tony Sagnella said, it wasn't a hole we could climb out of. Not that they didn't give it a go. I believe that's Mark Montano did his best to bring them back in the game, but in the end, Shelton was able to pull that one out. And now they're they lost to Cheshire week 1. Now they rolled off 4 straight, and now they're looking like number 2 in the SEC. And they play West Haven. West Haven, they play Newtown this week, which is a very interesting game. And then they play West Haven the week after. West Haven gets NFA, and then we go, and so that should be great.
Yeah,
the SEC is where it's at in 2 weeks. This week, though, is going to be it's all going to be FCAC.
Let's take a look real quickly at the top 5. Darien, we talked about Southington. West Haven at 3. I don't know how Ansonia drops to 4, but
well, what can you say? Ansonia just does what it has to do. But there's nobody in that league is going to touch them unless Naugatuck decides to surprise us all and win their first. Ansonia hasn't lost in the NVL since 2010.
Yeah.
Which is it's 7 years and counting now.
It's crazy.
It really is crazy. But you look at the top 10, you have Darien and New Canaan sitting there. New Canaan going down to the Marinelli Bowl down in Greenwich this week. And Greenwich hasn't, talk about teams that need to have a streak they need to break. Greenwich hasn't beaten New Canaan since the 2006 FCAC championship game.
Is that the last time?
That's the last time. They played 6 times since then. And it has mostly been all New Canaan all the time. We're talking. And John Marinelli had a lot to do with it. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator in New Canaan, and he was a part of that. New Canaan putting 66 up on Greenwich a few years back. But now they had a close game a couple years ago, but then last year again, New Canaan kind of showed them the door at their home field. Now they're looking pretty good.
I think the FCAC. I think Darien is clearly at the top, but I think there's openings for other teams in the FCAC to come in.
Well, and then you have St. Joe, and then you have Richfield sitting there on Saturday afternoon, and 1:30 matinee, before everyone can watch that game and then run out to head down to Greenwich and watch that game. I've done that trip a few times.
I think I know what your schedule is.